power in learning how to manage our emotions, to master our choices through the lens of emotional intelligence on the Miss Key and the Super Crew show. Together, we're on a mission to solve problems. Some of our Super Crew members actually have their own books. And so we're going to start off using their books as our problem of the day. Let's see what's going on here in Dante's book. Integrity is our word of the day. Now that we know we have a problem, Super Crew, now we need a solution.
The internet is loud, confusing, and sometimes unsafe. But every child deserves a guide. Someone who teaches confidence, kindness, and smart choices. A hero who helps kids stay safe online and strong in real life. Because every child deserves to feel smart, safe, and confident. This is the Miss Key Show on YouTube. Subscribe and join the Super Crew.
Hey everybody, how you doing? How you doing? It's your favorite superhero, Miss Key. What's going on, Super Crew? I'm super excited to be back with another episode of Miss Key and the Super Crew. Wow, guys, you know, it's so much power in learning how to manage our emotions, to master our choices through the lens of emotional intelligence, right? And so why is it so much power in this? Well, because when we learn how to manage our emotions, then what we do is we become self-aware of our mood, attitude, and energy. And when we're self-aware of our mood, attitude, and energy, it helps us keep our superpowers, right? Because when we lose our superpowers, that's when things get a little crazy, right? Because now we start feeling sad, or mad, or angry, or frustrated, or any of those different feelings that come up when we're not feeling good and happy and excited, right? How many of you love feeling good and happy and excited? Yeah, me too. I love being happy, right? And so this is why we cover how to solve problems right here on the Miss Key and the Super Crew show. Together, we're on a mission to solve problems, right? And speak up if somebody is hurting you or hurting someone you know. Immediately, we check in and tell 3 adults. That's right. So, let's get into our problem of the day. All right. And what we're going to do is we're going to use our Super Crew book from Dante. Yes, and so some of our Super Crew members actually have their own books. And so we're going to start off using their books as our problem of the day. Now, we will also go live sometimes, you guys. So that way, if you have a problem of the day that you would like me to solve, then all you have to do is always leave it right there in the comments. And in that way, I'll answer some of those questions live. That's right, I sure will when we go live. All right, you guys? So, here we go. Let's see what's going on here in Dante's book. I'm not going to read the whole book to you, but you can always order the book, and I'll also be giving away 3 books at the end of the show. So make sure you tune in so that way you can possibly win one of the books. All right? Here we go, Super Crew. So what happens here in Dante's book is we have one of our Super Crew members, Juju. All right? How many of you remember Juju from Demaya's book? Yes. And so Juju, we have Dante, we have Demaya, we have G, and we have Lele. They're all in this book right here. They actually all have their own individual books that we will cover here on the show. So G, here you have G is playing basketball, you guys. And so he's off playing basketball on his own while Demaya and Lele and the rest of the super crew, they're over there on the bleachers. They're all just hanging out. Everybody's hanging out, having fun. So now, here you have Dante and G. They're playing together. Dante got up. Him and G are really, really close friends. And so they like to play basketball together. So they're hanging out and they're playing basketball. But then what happens is Ju decides to go over there and now he wants to join in and he wants to play. Okay, great. Now they're all three playing. Nothing wrong with that, right? It's always good and fun to play with your friends, right? And they're at the park playing. How many of you love to go to the park and play with your friends and have a good time, right? Yeah, we all do. But when we're at the park having fun and playing with our friends, guess what, Super Crew? That's when we need to make sure that we are modeling integrity. Who can tell me what integrity means? Because integrity is our word of the day. That's right, Super Crew. We are going to always have a word of the day. And so our word of the day is integrity. And what integrity means, leave it in the comments. Let's see who can tell me what integrity means. All right, what it means is doing the right thing when nobody's watching. That's right, Super Crew. All right, and so even though your parents aren't at the park, or they're at the park and they're off to the side reading their book, right, or doing something else, then guess what? You still want to make sure that you are doing the right thing, right? Even at school, we want to make sure that we are doing the right thing, even if nobody is watching. Well, here, Ju decided to do the wrong thing. He decided to trip G, and that caused G to fall. Not only did he trip G, because sometimes accidents does happen, right? When we're playing sports, an accident can happen where somebody can fall. We know that, right? But what happened here is not only did G fall, but Julian decided to stand over him and tease him and make fun of him and call him names, right? And that is a problem, right? Do you guys see that as being a problem or being a solution? Yeah, I see it as a problem too, right? Because, let's get into it. What is some solutions? What should G have done, or what should Julian have done when Julian made G fall and he tripped him? What should he have done, Super Crew? Because this problem could have been avoided altogether, right? Right. So let's talk about it. The problem of the day is that that Juju made G fall by tripping him and then standing over him, laughing, teasing, and calling him names. How many of you see that as a problem? If you see that as a problem, leave a 1 in the comments. If you don't see that as a problem, leave a 2 in the comments. Right? A 1, you don't see it as a problem. A 2, you do see it as a problem. Right? I'm going to leave a number 2 because I see that as being a problem. So, now that we know we have a problem, Super Crew, now we need a solution because that's what we're all about here on the Miss Key and the Super Crew show. We are all about solutions. So let's figure out what is our solution to this big problem that we're having. And let's see, did they come up with a solution to the big problem that we're having? Right? Because in this moment, now, here, look at Lele. Lele decides to go over and she decides to confront Juju. Dante, he decides to go over and he decides to help G. So, Dante went to go help G while Lele goes to confront Juju. And then Miss Key sees it all. And so now Miss Key decides to come in. And what is the first thing that we do if we're mad, angry, frustrated, or sad? Leave it in the comments. That's right. Stop. That is the first thing that we do is stop. And that is exactly what Miss Key is telling that is exactly what Miss Key is telling Lele and Ju to do is stop, right? Very important. Stop so that we can check in with our mood, attitude, and energy, right? And checking in with your mood, attitude, and energy, what does that equal? Self-awareness. That's right. Mood, attitude, and energy equals self-awareness. And it's very, very important to make sure that you are always self-aware of what? Mood, attitude, and energy. You always, always, always want to be aware. Mood, attitude, and energy. Okay, so let's see what happens. So now let's talk about what is some solutions to the problem. All right, leave it in the comments, you guys. Leave your solutions, and we're going to go ahead and give 3 because like we know, just like math, there's always more than one solution to the problem. So go ahead, you guys leave the solutions in the comments, and I'll go ahead and give the 3. First solution. I believe a solution to this problem would have been Juju could have apologized. Soon as he made G trip, he should have said, I apologize, my bad, right? Because sometimes things happen. Nobody's perfect, and in sports, accidents will happen. Sports are physical, so we know sometimes that we might accidentally hit somebody, touch somebody, push somebody, trip somebody, but we don't laugh, we don't tease them. No, 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 we apologize, right? And so in that moment, Juju should have owned his mistake by apologizing. Take accountability. Accountability is very important. All right, what is solution number 2? Solution number 2 is, yes, Juju could have also decided to never join in because he joined in without even asking. He just got up, ran over there, and just got in the way and started playing instead of even asking. Right? And sometimes it's important for us to ask, is it okay if we join in and play games that have already started instead of just jumping in, right? Because what happened? That created a problem. And we don't want to create problems. We want to create solutions. That's right. All right. What is our final solution, you guys? All right, solution number 3 is once Julian actually made G fall and he did apologize, then he could have also helped him up, right? G, instead of laughing and teasing him, he could have reached his hand out to help him get up. Right? Because as Super Crew members, we always want to spread kindness. Right? It's very important to make sure that we are being kind to ourselves and to others. Very important, Super Crew. All right? So remember that. Remember, be kind to yourself and to others. Okay, so let's do a little recap. All right, what is our word of the day? That's right, integrity. And what does integrity mean? That's right, doing the right thing when nobody is watching. And we actually have another bonus word of the day. And what would our bonus word of the day be? That's right, self-awareness. Okay, and what does self-awareness mean? That's right, checking in with our mood, attitude, and energy. Okay, and our problem of the day was what? That's right, self-awareness. Always checking in with your mood, attitude, and energy. Being aware of how you're feeling matters most, right? Because in this book, Dante's book, if Julian would have been aware of how he was feeling, then maybe he wouldn't have went and intentionally tried to trip G, right? How do we know that it was intentional? Well, he actually says it here in this book. All right, you guys. So before we get ready to go, let's see who will actually win one of these books. All right, so number one, the first person to leave in the comments, what does integrity mean? Whoever can tell me what integrity means, the first person to leave it in the comments will actually get a book. All right, second book will go to whatever person, the first person in the comments to tell us, what does self-awareness mean? Leave it in the comments. And the last one, the first person that can tell me what is the name of the person that went to help G. Who went to help G when Juju made G fall? Who was that? All right, you guys. So again, the first person to leave it in the comments, I will reach out to you and I will actually mail you this book. All right, you guys. So remember, problem of the day is making sure that we always check in with our mood, attitude, and energy. Being self-aware of your feelings, your emotions, is very important to how you respond, right? Because I don't want you responding with your hands. Don't respond when you're mad, angry, or frustrated. In those moments, you just stop. Slow down. Think about how you're, slow down. Take a few deep breaths. The T, think about how you are feeling. Okay, because how you feel matters. The O, open your mind to some different possibilities, as well as the consequences, right? What can happen if you use your hands? Nothing good comes from that. And the P, now that we've processed everything, how do you want to proceed? Right? We always stop before we respond in situations when we are mad, angry, or frustrated. All right, Super Crew. Thank you again for another amazing episode. I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe because we have so many amazing treats in store just for you. All right, Super Crew. Remember, we're on a mission to speak up if somebody is hurting you or hurting someone you know. Always speak up and tell 3 adults. All right, Super Crew. I'll see you on